I recently saw a video by Mr Snooze on YouTube featuring two Triang L1 locomotives. One of them was 1757 in Southern Malachite green. This reminded me of very happy times early on, maybe 1977 or so, when Dad would bring his 1757 L1 to run on my railway on Sundays. An L1 was one of the first two original locos that I got, but mine was in BR green and numbered 31757. In later years, Dad repainted both his and my L1 into SR 1938 livery and upgraded the models with 5-pole motors and new wheels. However, I remember at the time being slightly sad that the bold 1757 would be lost. Back in 2006, Dad gave me an original Triang 31757 in BR livery, so I had back my original, but after seeing Mr Snooze's video, I really wanted to try and add 1757 in its bright livery back to the collection. From Rocket Railways I obtained one in need of TLC, a lot of TLC, and this video will show you what I did and how I got on. As you can see, she had suffered some significant front end damage, was missing a cab step, had a broken chassis lug and would not run. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another workbench video. Lots of things have been stacking up to be done here, and one of them is this lovely Triang L1, which I've already taken apart. Now I've already made a start on repairing the front, which was particularly badly damaged. That's where the securing screw went. I've noticed that the clip at the back where the motor goes is missing. It's easy to put a bit of bar in, and for the missing step, we've got a missing step there. You see that side's got a step. I found a metal one that I can put in, which is there. So there's a number of things to do. The first thing though is that the chassis needs a good examination and a check over, because at the moment it draws a horrendous amount of current and doesn't work properly. So we'll strip the chassis down, get that working, and then tomorrow when my plastic putty comes we'll work on the body. So I've got the motor out of the chassis, and one of the first jobs normally with a Triang is to see if the magnet needs remagnetising, but this motor passes the test. If it can lift itself up with the strength of its magnet, it doesn't necessarily need remagnetising, so it's in quite a good state. So we're just down to the usual clean-up between the commutator sections, brushes, and then we'll see what the motor spins up like out of the body. The commutator was absolutely black. Look at that. Still needs a bit of a clean. So hopefully that might have been the main reason why everything was running so high current, because it couldn't get through the mess. So the brushes are probably going to be in a similar state. Now I've had a clean round. I've lubricated the two bearings. Lovely and simple, aren't they, these motors? So let's connect up and see whether it's reluctant to go or not. I have to do this so it doesn't obscure the camera. Doesn't seem to be a lot wrong there, other direction. Seems fine. I think what we'll do is take an ammeter reading. Ammeter measures the amount of current being drawn, and that'll tell us how healthy the motor is. Now, an ammeter sits in series with the load. It's on the 200 milliamp scale, which I would hope the motor would achieve. It might be higher, we'll see if it goes over. There we are, 140 milliamps from a Triang motor that hasn't been run for a while, no doubt. That is really good, really good. It's off load obviously. a new modern CAN motor may draw between sort of 50 and 60 milliamps, but I've seen these operating up to half an amp. That's far too much. 138 is dropping as it runs in. So there's nothing at all wrong with the motor. That's a really good first step. So now we need to take a closer look at the chassis of the Loco and check all that out. So it was close-up time for the chassis. Now the I can't remember the name of this type of metal pickup. It's not phosphor bronze. There's a name for it. But anyway, that plate is loose, so we need to take that screw out and check that. And that's not the shape it should be there. And yeah, I just need to check round to make sure that's okay. The wheels, as you can probably see, they are original, but they're in good nick. And yes, they do have quite deep flanges, but I don't think they'll cause me much trouble with my track and points. They look like they're the slightly newer ones. Certainly had a good amount of use. At some point somebody has changed the front bogie wheels for metal ones. So this actually model has been quite well looked after. Certainly been loved and cherished, but now is in need of a good clean-up and an improvement. So we'll see what we can do next. Yeah, he took the plate off now. Very interestingly, here is the magnet, which has still got some power, that was used for providing magnadhesion. Yes, a few other bits are reliant on it. As you can see, it's quite a big old magnet, and it's still got some power. Wow. Okay, so we've reassembled and everything's working. As you can see, it doesn't run too bad at all for an old girl. Track's a bit dirty, so you have to use a working chassis. I always thought we were going to. These L1s are beautiful, as long as they're not worn. Very interesting though, I've never seen the chassis with all this sort of copper colour. I suppose the paint's worn off over the years. I may replace the paint, but I kind of quite like it really. So there's a few things to do still. The muck on the wheels was amazing. I mean, I don't know if you can see in close up, there's a lot of wear on these wheels. This model has been thoroughly enjoyed during its life, which is wonderful, isn't it? It's absolutely splendid to know. And I suspect perhaps it's even been remagnetised. That's why the magnet's in good order, and the brushes look quite new. So it's a model that's been thoroughly enjoyed, and that's kind of nice. So it's sort of been passed on to me in a way. I got this from Rocket Models on eBay, and it was as a fix-up. So I mean, there's things to do on the bodywork there. It needs the handrails picking out in silver again, not a problem at all, can do that. And that step that we spoke about, but I'm waiting for some plastic putty to come. And then 1757 in Southern livery will ride again, but I want to try and get it just a bit smoother and a bit more compatible with the points. Because of the damage to the front end and the fact that this is also the place where the chassis securing screw goes, I felt I needed to strengthen the area. I did this by cutting some thin metal plate to the right dimensions, including allowing for a small front lip. This was fixed in place by some industrial superglue, assuring me that the plastic was well supported. Of course, adding the plate meant I needed to remove the same thickness from the chassis arm. Both were carefully measured. The rear chassis securing lug was built back up using some painted hard wood that was shaped as much as possible to fit the brake, and then superglued in place before being filled with plastic putty and overall painted. The same process was used to fit and secure the missing step. Then, to address the stalling over points, I decided to make the tender and loco semi-permanently coupled. allowing me to fit spacers under the tender chassis and using Vero board and phosphor bronze strip to make pickups for 2 of the axles. The thin wire, known as DCC hookup wire, was then carefully routed to the loco and tacked onto the hot and chassis side. Once everything was fitted and secure, I painted the front black to cover the repairs, reapplied the white lining and picked out the handrails etc. with silver paint. Oh, the buffer beam was given a fresh coat of red, and to make her feel really special, the buffer heads were painted white, as befits a special loco. Okay, it's testing time. So here we go, our first look at the L1 1757 in Southern Malachite green from Triang. All sorted out, running nicely. A little bit of noise, but they may settle down. Still fitted with the original Triang gears, don't forget. Dad's ones were fitted with 40:1. So now a chance of a bit of a close-up and see her in all her glory. Now the bottom lining I did with my paint lining tool is by hand. I'm not 100% happy and I might have to redo it, but it's certainly better than it was because most of it was missing. But what a stunning but simple locomotive she is. So here we have a look at the other side. There's a bit of a blemish there on the paintwork on the tender, but that's as she came to me and I thought, well, let's just leave it as it is. It is a nod to her age. She must be over 50. Now look at the current that she's drawing, looking at my new boxes. It's around 280 milliamps, maybe 300. That's loaded with 4 coaches, which is quite a good load. Draws slightly less going backwards, oddly enough, and it's also slightly quieter. Here we go again, but this time we're going faster. It's still about the same, it's just shy of 300 milliamps, which is absolutely perfect for these kind of motors, I think, anyway. So, I'm sorry I haven't posted many videos lately. I've fallen way behind my schedule. Things have been rather tricky around clearing and selling Dad's home. As some of you may know, he passed away in November last year. Well, it's our old family home. It's where all my original model railwaying started, and that home is now under new ownership, and it's been an awfully painful process, I have to say. And you have to deal with such things as capital gains tax and, oh god, solicitors, and it's just so painful. To make matters worse, I've also been suffering a few health problems, plus trying to hold down a job and do everything else as well, so that's why. But I've noticed the channels continue to grow. I'm just 49 away from 3,000 subscribers, which is an amazing figure, and I thank everyone who takes the trouble to subscribe. And I hope to make lots more good videos for you in the coming weeks.